Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Welcome back to another video. Finally got around to doing a new one. Today I want to share just very briefly two thoughts or two different ideas or concepts of how to start our practice. The reason I'm making this video is a lot of videos I see online and a lot of what I do with those kind of guitar teaching advice videos is very specific things of like practice arpeggios, how to go through changes, how to get a scale. It's about theory and harmony, all that stuff. And that's all very good advice, but today I want to deal with like two concepts of how we can start our practice session. I found for myself, I kind of observed that the way I start a session hugely impacts my motivation throughout the sessions, and therefore how long and how thorough and how good most of the practice sessions will be. So I kind of want to briefly discuss today two ideas that are kind of contrasting with each other, but at different times both worked for me and are still working, and I change in between the two. So the first idea I got, I'm not sure if I actually got it in a lesson with him or from one of his video lessons, but it's from Lund, and he very simply just starts with, it can be a tune, it can be free improvisation, but he just kind of grabs the guitar and plays something. So that could be just randomly he could be starting like something like anything like that, and he just kind of lets it flow, and he's not too particular about it. It's just like wherever his ears or his fingers kind of lead him, he plays it. And this can be kind of a really great open way to start your practice, because he says while playing a tune or an improvisation there, something usually sparks his interest. It might be like an harmonic change, it might be a certain fingering he's struggling with here, and then he kind of investigates that. So kind of the unbiased, just open approach to playing some music leads him to areas that either interest him or that he's struggling with and he wants to kind of work on. And I found for myself, I did that for a while, and it worked really well for me. It kind of can really lead to great practice sessions, because sometimes if you have your list and it's arpeggio scale, it can be a bit tedious or monotonous. But if you sometimes come from a place of musicality, of playing a tune, you're kind of doing those same things later in your practice, but you have a real life, a direct kind of correlation to something you just did, which is really helpful. And that's kind of the first approach I want to talk about. Is kind of this open, no thoughts, just play whatever happens. It's probably the first thing you play might not be the most technical thing, but that can be a good thing, because it can lead to musicality, it can lead to ideas, to thoughts, to investigations. The second approach is something I did a lot more in winter. Like, I live in Dublin, Ireland, and while we don't have like that much snow and ice, it gets quite cold in the apartment. So sometimes when you or after a certain morning, you pick up your instrument and you play this first note, and everything just hurts, and like you try to play something like this, but everything you do just sounds like not in a good way, like in this way. It's just like kind of hurts your fingers, everything is harsh. You do a slide and you feel like your skin comes off, like stuff like we all deal with. And I had this problem a couple of times where I didn't get that inspiration from the free playing, and it was just like frustrating, because I didn't have a nice touch, which then leads to a terrible sound, which then kind of can reinforce a lot of the critical thoughts I have about my own playing. Like, oh, you can't play for shit, or you can't, like, you don't even know changes, and you don't know tunes, and you can't do anything, and you can't play in time. All of that just gets reinforced by your first couple of seconds on the instrument, or at least it can be. So in the second approach, I kind of did completely the opposite of that. I kind of went for 10 minutes of very methodical mechanical exercises, and a couple that I did was, I think I got them all from a Pascal Grasso class on my music master classes. I think they're all kind of from the classical guitar realm. I wouldn't know too much about that, but I think he mentions that in the video. One is something where you have all your fingers on, like, for example, the G string on the first 4 frets, and then you just go the interval with 2 fingers. You go like this, and you switch it around while you keep those. So it's a bit of finger strength, finger independence, especially when you increase the interval. So now I'm on A and on B string. And then the last one is the hardest. You're on the 2 E strings. And you do it with the metronome very slowly. Go through all the combinations. And especially the last one here. Be careful with this one. You can do it higher up the neck. It's a bit easier at the start. Yeah, there. I'm trying to look into the camera now on the guitar. That's a hard one. You do it a bit slower than I did there, but it's really good. Kind of just like getting your hand warm and getting each finger kind of stretched. Then I do a couple ones like chromatically from the lowest note to the highest, like. And so on through the guitar. Then there's another Pascal Grasso exercise, which is the octave one, where he's kind of in the first position, the first 4 frets. Starts with the open E and the octave, and then you go chromatically up an octave. So the next is F and the 3rd finger to have the octave there. Then you have 2nd and 4th, G, G sharp. And the important thing is that you use the open strings, but each finger is on a specific fret the whole time. So you get this. So this is, again, not a very musical exercise, but it's great for just like getting your fingers to get to work. And I do this stuff for about 10 minutes with a timer. And after that, even like in the depths of winter in Dublin, I usually have a somewhat okay feeling for my fingers and a confidence and a touch. So this is kind of the second approach. And I'm aware that those approaches are very contrasting to each other. And at different times throughout the year, throughout your life, throughout your practice, different approach might work for you. I just found out even thinking about and changing it up from time to time really benefits the enthusiasm I get out. I'm really bad at practicing if I don't have enthusiasm for it. If I feel it's hard and it's a chore, I don't practice much. If I'm just engaged into learning from a happy place, from a fun place, I usually tend to do it way more longer and way more in depth and way more engaged. So just think about the first couple of minutes, regardless if you think of any of those 2 ideas or if you have your own way, but even changing those first couple of minutes up in your practice can really help you to get that fuel back and to get that endurance for your practice and kind of change your day in that way. I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope I'm back with more of this more regularly. I've been terrible lately, but thanks so much for checking it out and see you in the next one. Cheers.